It does turn out, though, that there are some solutions on the table down in Washington that could advance the ball for veterans' healthcare, especially where it comes to toxic exposures. There's a bill coming out of the Senate called the Cost of War Act, sponsored by the chairman of that Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, Jon Tester of Montana. So we got a chance to talk with Senator Jon Tester of Montana and Senator Jerry Moran, who is the ranking member on the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee, to find out what the status is of that bill, what do they think of its chances, and that's really all we're going to ask them. I'm not sure I want to know anything else. First of all, guys, thanks so much for sitting down with us. It's much appreciated.
Great to be with you.
John, we're happy to be here, and Senator Tester and I, Chairman Tester and I are certainly appreciative of your efforts to get us, Congress, and the administration to move on this issue of toxic exposure and what it means to veterans who are still being denied benefits.
Amen to that.
Amen to that. Last time I was down there, you guys were introducing your Cost of War Act. Senator Tester, you were introducing that to committee. It passed out of committee. For those who don't know, it's a comprehensive bill that addresses toxic exposure, burn pits. It includes presumptions for a number of different diseases. It includes training for VA. I just wanted to ask you guys, just to start off with, where are we at? Where does it stand now, and how are things looking?
Where it's at right now is we're still waiting for some additional information from the VA. We need to know how much it's going to cost so we can figure out how to pay for this doggone thing. That information is going to come in the next 2-3 weeks, I think. Mm-hmm. And then once we get that, then Jerry and I can sit down and arm wrestle and figure out how we get this thing to the floor.
Now, I did get a chance to sit down with Secretary McDonough at the VA, and it felt like there was a reluctance on their end to work with Congress. Has that been the experience that you've had with the VA, and has that changed?
Well, I would say that the experience with the VA is that they were slow to give us information that we needed to make decisions. They were reluctant to do things that they could do on their own without, them wanting additional information themselves. As a result of the bill coming out of the committee, the VA is behaving differently, and they are providing us with information that's useful. But perhaps the most important thing is they've taken steps to begin to add presumptions to the list, so that on their own, without congressional action. So I think the answer to your question is they have changed their behavior and are moving. In a few weeks, that we're going to have the information that we need. That's good news.
And I would tell you proof of that is early August, they announced disability benefit claims for veterans suffering from asthma, rhinitis, sinusitis. I don't think they'd have done that if we hadn't got this bill out. And it's a small step, but it's a big step too. And I would say also, to your point, look, agencies like to do what they want to do. Congress to agencies is sometimes a pain in the neck, but our job is to hold those agencies accountable to make sure they're doing the job. And that's part of the deal. And that really supersedes politics. When we're talking about the VA, the review of some of these problems sometimes takes a lot longer than anybody's comfortable with, and so we need to continue to push the agency, and we need to continue to push them to push the people who are doing the research to get it done in a timely way. I mean, you know this very, very well. If you take a look at Agent Orange, I mean, we're still talking about Agent Orange exposures in 2021. Are you give me a break?
While I appreciate the concern, the true cost of war is something we never really deal with in this country, which is there's always money to prosecute the war. There's always money for defense contractors. And if that is a national defense issue, that's great. But a covenant was made with these soldiers and their families. And I think it's really hard to watch this go down 20 years later, and then they balance the budget sort of on the back of these soldiers because there's a backlog of claims. So that, the reasoning behind it is, well, there's a backlog of claims, or we don't really have the expertise, or we don't really have the science. And I think we could walk through each one of those pretty easily and knock them down pretty good, especially the science one.
I don't think there's any disagreement whatsoever that when we send men and women off to war, that we have an obligation as American taxpayers to try to get their life back to as normal as we possibly can. we also have an obligation with this bill to get enough votes to get this baby passed and get it to the president's desk.
Some people will have different priorities on how they spend money, but my priority is to keep the commitments that have been made to those who served. And that commitment was, if you suffer an injury or a condition as a result of your service, and as a result you are in need of health care, or as a result you are in need of benefits to compensate for loss of income, then there's not a question about that we need to provide that. The answer to that is absolutely yes. The decision was made to care for these veterans the day that we started battle in Afghanistan. And it's not a decision that we now can change. The decision was made. Our responsibility, our requirement is that decision is fulfilled.